An employee handbook is the miniature version of HR policies and procedure, the summarized form of the HR policy and procedure. Welcome to today's episode of HR Insight, where I'm going to be simplifying what is an employee handbook. We will start by looking at what is an employee handbook. We will go ahead to look at the content of the employee handbook and also how to develop an employee handbook. What is an employee handbook? According to Wikipedia, an employee handbook is also known as your employee manual, your staff handbook, or your company policy manual. And this is actually a book that is usually given to employees by an employer. It usually contains employment and job related information which employees need to know. While the content of an employee handbook varies from organization to organization, there are some specific parts of that handbook that are common across different organizations. And those areas are company history, or the vision, or the mission, or the purpose why the organization exists. That is expected to be contained within the handbook. Then conversations around what is expected of employees in terms of code of ethics, in terms of code of conduct, in terms of policies, decisions that have been taken ahead of time in different situations. What is expected of the employee and what will the organization do? Some of this policy are expected to cut across the entire employee life cycle, talking about from hiring, development, retaining the employees, and the exit of the employees. Now, all of these policies, which are usually in the HR policies and procedure, need to be summarized into an employee handbook. That employee handbook is what will be given to employees as an expectation. What do we expect you to do as an employee in different scenarios? All of this will have been contained in the employee handbook. How to develop an employee handbook. The starting point in developing an employee handbook is to review your HR policies and procedure. Owing to the fact that your HR policies and procedure is used as the source of the employee handbook, that is, the miniature version of your HR policies and procedures is what is contained in your employee handbook. And the expectation is that your HR policies and procedures will be in line with employment laws and regulations so that there are no compliance issues. Then you need to create an outline of what to include in the employee handbook. Remember, the employee handbook is a miniature version of your HR policies and procedure. So you need to decide what you need to include in your employee handbook. Take, for example, your HR policies and procedures will cover the various areas of HR. And a recruitment policy, for example, can have 20 pages. Just an example. You do not expect the entire 20 pages on recruitment to be in your employee handbook. You need to decide what areas are important for a new employee to know about so that you don't give them information overload. So you need to decide what you need to include in the employee handbook. Then you would now create summarized versions of each of the HR policy and procedure within the handbook. So the concluding part of developing the handbook, after reviewing the policy to be sure that it's compliant for best practice and all other things, after ensuring that you have decided what you want to include in the handbook, then you will create summarized versions of each of the policy that will now be in a concise and easy to read version for the employees. In order to understand the connection between HR policies and procedure and your employee handbook, there's a video I did earlier on HR policies and procedure, you can watch by clicking on the video card above, so that will give you an understanding that your employee handbook is a miniature version of your HR policies and procedure. Thank you very much for watching to this episode. I'll catch you in the next one.